Welcome to today's episode of r/Let's Not Meet. My neighbor tries claiming my house. This happened a little bit ago, about a month, and it was a bizarre experience to say the least. I'm 15, and I was playing some video games before passing out. It was about, say, 11 PM, when I hear the doorbell ring. Out of instinct, I begin walking downstairs, but about halfway there rationality came to mind. Who the duck rings a doorbell at 11 PM? I silently strode back upstairs and stood in the hall, kinda expecting something bad to happen. An exact minute later, it rings twice. My parents begin to leave their room and give me a quizzical look, and all I had to respond was a shrug. Then he starts banging on the door. My mother jumps at the first bang, and my father's eyes widened, but more in confusion than fear. He decided to go downstairs and peep through the view hole. It was our neighbor. My dad hesitantly opened the door, and I could hear my father's voice tremble slightly. "Hey, what do you need?" Next thing I hear is an entire full-blown scream argument from our neighbor, claiming that this household was his, and we stole it from him. My father's uneasiness was quickly replaced with annoyance, and he simply shut the door without giving our neighbor the time of day. My dad stepped on the first step going up the stairwell when our neighbor first hit the door. I'm not talking banging with a fist. This man was full body slamming it. My father was stunned for a second, and my neighbor charged the door again. This time, we began to hear the splintering of wood. Everyone reacted at once. My father went to brace the door with his body. My mother went to go get the other two kids, and I went for 911. The body slamming ensued for another 5 minutes, and while I was on the phone with 911, it stopped. I thought it was over, and I was relieved, but I still stuck on the phone. I go peek out the front window of my house, and boy, was it only getting started. Our neighbor took his Jeep Wrangler and simply directed it straight at our house. We had zero clue what he was doing, until he hit the gas and we heard the squealing of tires. Then he immediately hit the brakes. He was trying to scare us out of the house. I was still on the phone with 911, and I stepped away from the window to comfort my siblings, crack jokes and such. Eventually, police arrived and arrested him. The next morning, I left for school, still shaken from the night before. I stepped onto our front steps and saw tire marks leading up to our front door. The lunatic actually nearly rammed our door down with his car. I really never want to see this dunt ever again, but he lives directly to my right. Duck my life. Edit. Alright, I don't know if he has a mental illness or not. I'm sorry, and no, I'm not going to physically harm him via blade nor bullet. Stop suggesting that. Edit 2. No, I do not care if he had threatened us. The situation was resolved with no one harmed. Stop saying my father should have hurt anyone. There was no need. Rationality over emotion. And no, not even I trust my guardians with a firearm. I would probably be the best candidate for it, but I doubt my father will buy a gun and rely on his 15-year-old son to use it. Best that I wait until I'm of age. I've been on Reddit too long. I really thought you were going to tell us that your mom was cheating with the guy in stripes and your brother saw him in the house. My brother saw a ghost as a kid. 2 decades later, I realized what he actually saw. I was about 7 years old, my brother about 10. It was well past our bedtime when our mom woke up off the couch to put us to bed. Our dad worked construction out of town back then, so it was often just us three at the house for weeks at a time. Up the stairs and to the immediate right was our parents' bedroom. Going left put you in the middle of a hallway. Taking another left down that hallway led to my brother's room. The opposite end was my room, which was also across the hall from our upstairs bathroom. At either end of the hallway are window doors we always kept locked and rarely used. The door on my end led to a balcony overlooking our front yard, and the door on my brother's end opened to our back porch. The house kinda leans into a small hill. My brother and mom both had a habit of waking up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. I only knew this because I was always a light sleeper and they just couldn't help flushing with the door wide open. This night, however, my brother stopped on his way to his room and came back towards the bathroom. I'm gonna try to pee before I go to bed. The past few nights I've been too afraid to walk to the bathroom. I keep seeing a man wearing stripes at the end of the hallway. I don't know if my mom wrote it off as my brother telling ghost stories to try to scare me or if she was already half asleep and didn't catch it. But she didn't react at all to my brother's confession. I, on the other hand, was terrified by it. The fear of seeing a ghost like that at the end of the hallway or through the windows is the reason I started running from the stairs to my bedroom at night. Years later, when I was about 18, my mom and I were having a conversation in her car about a dog we had for a very short time when I was little. We were sharing stories about Max's tendency towards destroying my shoes and other unruly behaviors when my mom blurted out, "Do you remember that time I opened the front door for the cops and Max ran inside to the kitchen and started tearing open that big bag of dog food we had?" This really caught me by surprise, because in all the years I lived in that house we never once called the cops, gun owner family in a quiet, rural WV neighborhood, etc. I asked her what she was talking about and she looked equally surprised as if she had just revealed something by accident. "Oh, that's right. I never told you because you were too young at the time. One night, I woke up hearing noises outside my window and when I looked I saw a man staring into my bedroom." She went on to describe how turning on the lights caused him to take off running and how she grabbed my dad's pistol before calling the cops. I can't remember all the details I gave them when they showed up. Tall white male, wearing a striped shirt and jeans. Short dark hair, something like that. They said it matched the description of a man they were looking for in the area. It turns out he had escaped from jail on a murder charge. Now, I know it sounds so obvious hearing those two stories back to back, but it wasn't until a few years ago, in my mid-20s, that I pieced together that my brother had unknowingly warned us about a murderer who spent multiple nights casing our home. Did you ever find out why he was behaving that way? Drunk or something? Either way, OMG terrifying. No, my guess is drugs. While in his car, he was fidgeting with everything imaginable. While drunk, from what I've seen, everything is slurred rather than sharp and fidgety. Never found out though. The police dealt with the scenario, and I went back inside and kind of just stared at the wall, wondering what could have happened. Holy crap. Smart thinking not to answer the door yourself. Sounds like you and your family work well as a team. We all know that family comes first. My father is more willing to protect head on. My mother protects her children. While I was always self-taught that 911 is my best friend. And I'm 15. It was 11 PM. And I'm still partially scared of the dark. What compelled me to even get halfway to answer the door is beyond me. Wait, was he in your house? Since your brother said he was at the end of the hallway, not in a window? He just said at the end of the hallway, where OP noted that there was a window. So I'd say it doesn't sound like he was in the house. It had to be through the window. I definitely remember him saying at the end of the hallway because it painted a horrible image for me as a kid, but it must have just been poor wording. Also, I detailed the layout of the hallway and the doors but forgot to mention there's no way up to the balcony on my end other than through that door. This means my brother had to see him through the door right next to his room on his way back from the bathroom. I say this all with uncertainty because I've never actually told my brother the story our mom told me. I just asked him if he remembered the man in stripes, but he said he only vaguely remembers. He has an awful memory. Recently, I've been wanting to tell him the full story to see if it jogs his memory, which is why I posted it here. I'll post an update here if that happens. Oh wow. Sorry for the lack of updates so far. I've been super busy sick this week and totally didn't expect this story to get as much attention as it did. I spoke with my mom and brother separately about the stories. First, my mom corrected my memory about what she found out from the police. It wasn't someone that had escaped. Rather, the description fit a suspect in an ongoing murder investigation. I'm honestly not sure if that makes it better or worse. Also, my brother already knew about my mom's story. He still can't remember much about how he saw the person, but it sounds like it scared him as much as the story did for me when we were kids. He said he's probably suppressing the memory and I can't tell if he's joking about that or not. My brother did remind me of a piece of the story I didn't know was related. For the week after my mom called the cops, our older cousin brought a shotgun and stayed with us until our dad returned. Of course, at the time, I didn't know why he was staying with us. I mentioned this to my mom and she told me a detail I didn't know. Our cousin, who was sleeping in my brother's room, set up a makeshift alarm system with some string and bells on the door in case anyone came around. Again, a string, some bells, and a shotgun. Affordable home security in the 90s, I guess. The funny part about my cousin's makeshift alarm story is that it led to my mom revealing another detail in my life I never knew about. For as long as I can remember, that door, which was replaced several years ago, had a rope loop of Christmas bells around the knob. The sound of those bells is burned into my memory because they would jingle anytime someone opened the door, and my mom would always check that door before going to bed. As I got older and started doing more work around the house, I would have to use that door a lot and would get annoyed by it falling off every time I opened the door. I remember getting frustrated and throwing it in a closet once or twice, but my mom got upset and made me put it back. She said our cousin's alarm system gave her the idea to leave those Christmas bells on the door year round. Anyways, we never got more information about the investigation, but we also never had any incidents like that again, so that was good enough for us. Sorry if that's not as much detail as you were hoping for, but hopefully that gives you enough of a picture. I probably won't bother my family about this again, but I appreciate all the kind words said here and I'm glad you enjoyed my story. This entire story gave me the chills. Thanks for the update. Bro, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.